Welcome to a new segment that we like to call UNF Morning in the Afternoon. I'm Rebecca Davidson. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with University of North Florida President John Delaney. We asked him about the current expansion of the school, the possibility of a football team, and what the president sees for the future of the university. So something that all of us in the department have been wondering about is, during the recession, how is it that we are able to build this studio right now?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to answer that. One is that our budgets come in two different buckets. One is to pay operating expenses, salaries, the light bill, and the other is for construction. And so we had some money for renovation set up some years ago, and then a number of course, these items were donated from the local broadcast industry. And even despite that, I think we would have tried to do it operationally as well. But it's a nice asset to have, and it's been great for the students.
When you decided to build the studio, what kind of vision did you have as far as the department is concerned?
It really wasn't my vision at all. It really was the faculty in the department. You know, they're the professionals, they're the experts, they're who've worked in the industry, written about the industry, participated in the industry, consulted with the industry. So they knew what they needed, and our job is to try to find the resources to support the faculty in this area. And it's been tough the last 3 or 4 years, but I think for the most part our faculty's been kind of patient and understanding that there's so many people unemployed out there and so many businesses that have substantially cut salaries that that we're able to finally get this thing put together for the students and the faculty as well.
Where do you anticipate the student programming going now that we have this facility?
Well, you know, ultimately we'd love to make it where it is broadcast or carried by cable, and you know, ultimately it would be to maybe even have a PBS station or something here as well. But the industry's changing so rapidly, and with the advent of how cable has changed things, digital is changing things, the changing of wavelengths, and the ability to broadcast more over the same bandwidth. It's tough to know exactly where that's going to be, but again, I think the faculty will tell us where things need to go, and we just need to do our best to listen to them and then fund what they think is appropriate for the classroom and for the teaching.
Would you possibly see a partnership with Channel 7, for instance?
Yes, we've actually talked to them in the past about it, and ultimately they're in a very landlocked position downtown. They have what's known as a community charter as opposed to a university charter. But I think we'd love to try to find a way to make that work. And the general manager of the public broadcasting TV and radio is, in fact, his daughter's a graduate here, got a graduate degree from UNF. And so we've got a good relationship. They're strapped on money, and of course right now Congress is even looking at cutting public broadcasting. So we'll just have to see where that goes. But when you drive through college towns that are running the PBS station, there's a different energy and a different vibe that comes from that, I think. And the program is like a little spunkier, and so I'd love to see that ultimately happen. There's not room for two public broadcasting stations in the same city, so hopefully we can do some kind of a marriage or a partnership down the road.
So that could somehow be an outlet for our programming.
Yeah, correct. When we purchased UNF Hall, we had given some consideration of whether we could find a way to move the public broadcasting station out here. The problem is they have so much invested in that building downtown on the river, and we just couldn't at the time, just didn't have the money to really be able to make that fly, and weren't quite sure if we could get on the same path. But that's still out there. Again, the last 3-4 years, because of the budget, we've kind of just had to do our best to keep our nose above the water as opposed to really making giant leaps ahead. But that's certainly out there.
Well, the studio and the department has been growing. Do you think that the campus is growing enough to, at a rate good enough to keep the building going across campus, department to department?
Yeah, when I first got here, we had a lot of programs, including faculty and classrooms, that were in trailers. They were portables. And I just thought they were very unprofessional and unattractive. And so we made a major shift to try to professionalize the space that we put our students and our faculty and our staff in. And we've been very successful in that. We've added about 1.5 million square feet in the last 7 years, which is about a 50% increase in the amount of building space we have on campus. But all that's really done is kind of caught us up to the enrollment and the faculty numbers that we have. We were way, way, way behind. But I'm optimistic that in the future we'll continue to get the dollars from the state and find ways to leverage existing dollars so that we'll always have the right ratios, the office sizes for the faculty, the classrooms for the students, and the facilities. And really we don't want to grow until we have money to hire the appropriate number of faculty. We've got the smallest average class size of all the universities in the state. We really want to protect that. And so we're going to have the construction dollars before we're really going to be able to grow as well.
Do you think do we need the amount of students before we build more buildings, or is it the buildings that bring the students?
It's a great question. There's a little chicken and egg. Usually what you do is you have more students than you have space, then you catch up, then you add some more students, et cetera. Again, we added so much square footage that we've caught up. But that shows you how small we were, to have a 50% growth, and we really didn't add that many students the last few years. We've essentially been frozen in enrollment. But again, you've got to try to match them up to the best that you can.
Do you think that there could be football in our future if we continue to grow, building student?
I tell you, I don't give a speech to a community group or a civic group. I don't get asked about football. I mean, every Rotary Club, virtually every student group, I get to ask the same question. Our athletic budget's about $7 million right now, and that's almost all student fee generated. There's a pretty good portion of private money, but a little bit of ticket sale revenue, but not much. To add football, you'd need about another $7 million. So, and then you've really also got to deal with Title IX, which means there should be equal opportunities for female athletes and male athletes, and equal financial support for each program. So to get there, you'd really need UNF's enrollment to roughly double. You'd be years with a football program before you generate enough ticket revenue to really be able to start carrying some costs. So I do see football in UNF's future, but it's probably a good 10 to 15 years away before that math can really work.
Do you think that there's a standard as far as like buildings go? Like how do you, what makes the department choose? The
priorities? Yeah. That's pretty much in consultation. The chairs of the departments will work with the dean, and then the dean works with the provost and our finance staff to try to see what's the next thing up, what is of critical importance. Sometimes the expensive ones get put off because you can do 2 or 3 or 4 smaller ones. Of course, the current construction we've got going right now is a new biology building, which is long overdue, and the labs really needed to be upgraded. But I think that's about a $30 million building, 35. So it takes a while to build up the money to be able to do that. And then the fitness center, the health and wellness center, of course, that's been torn down, and we're starting construction on that. And that's paid largely by the students, by a fee that the students have paid. And so it'll be a great amenity to have. But I have at universities what I described, our budget has different colors of money. And red money can only be spent on red things, and purple money on purple things, and blue money on blue things. They really restrict it. And so there's always a pot that you have to draw from, and it's never as big as you'd like it to be. But College of Business is one of the next areas that we're going to have to expand, and we've pretty much gone back and renovated most of the buildings since we purchased the AOL building, which is now UNF Hall. But that's one of the next big hot ones a little further down the road.
Okay, so looking beyond the campus future, how about your own future? What do you see for yourself next?
Well, I hope to stay here, and of course, the Board of Trustees makes that decision, and often faculty, if they get upset, they can run a president out of town. But I could see staying here another 10 years and really retiring from UNF. I've thoroughly enjoyed the job. It can be an exhausting job, but it's there's no free lunch anywhere. So I hope this is my last stop.
So the chances of you retiring from here are pretty good?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. You never know what God will do. I could have a heart attack tomorrow, or I've long said that the only job that I really would consider leaving UNF for is if the president wanted to appoint me to the U.S. Supreme Court, but I haven't been on his short list, so I don't see that happening.
You'd look good in a robe.
I wear them every graduation. It's the same kind of thing.
So you would consider taking an office again?
Probably it's 10 years away. They say in politics that politics is about luck and timing, and people who have set this great career path up, it just doesn't really work that way. In my whole life, it's just another door has seemed to open up at the right time, and that's worked pretty good for the last 30 years or so that I've been working. And I could maybe see in my late 60s running for office again, but the world moves on. Maybe time for somebody new to do that. But I see staying here as long as the university will have me.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
It's been
Great questions.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Thank you for joining us on UNF Morning in the Afternoon. And stick around for future interviews from people important to UNF and the Jacksonville area.